What's up, everybody? This is Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we have an amazing guest, one of both me and Greg's favorite people. The Grandmaster himself, Terry McDaniel, is here. Holy cow. Greg, you actually made it happen. I don't know why it took us so long to actually get the Grandmaster back on the show. We did an audio episode with him a million years ago when the show is brand new and haven't had him back since, which is a massive oversight on our part. And finally, Greg has fixed his incredible mistake, and we have Terry on the show. So first of all, the junior Grandmaster, Greg McDaniel, what's up today?
Johnson Face! Dude, I've got me Papa, T. Diddy, the Grandmaster, finally here with us. This is going to be an awesome show. And guys, just him being who he is, he right off the bat was making sure like, hey guys, well, if they have any questions, make sure that they'll reach out to you and we'll put together a whole series of stuff for you. And I'm like, holy cow. That's why I love this guy. That's why I love this guy. This is the guy I learned everything from. So guys, take out this prehistoric writing utensil, the pad of paper, and take copious notes, because this man will literally make it rain of knowledge. So without ado, Dad, Grandmaster, me Papa, the T-Dizzle, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. He's shaking his head if you guys can't see him, like, what the heck?
Well, Greg, I think what you and Matt are doing is something that's so timely for so many people out there, people in the real estate business. You know that the life cycle of an agent is less than 7 years. So the time they start, they're in and out within 7 years. It's really not the real estate side of the business. It's all about the people side. It's hard to overcome and maintain that mental, physical, emotional, spiritual attitude about the business that you're a servant, rather than just thinking about the money that you're making all the time. By the way, it's never about the money. I would never been able to last 45, almost 47 years without realizing when our very first mentor, Jim Teets, a very dear friend of mine, said, Terry, remember that you're the servant here. You need to help people through a process, they're not buying or selling a home. They're going through a process of changing where they live to a new location. They're moving their soul. They're moving their things. They're moving who they are to that new location. Your job is to make it as smooth and easy as possible for them. So the real estate business has been very good for me. And I have many long-term friends. And I don't know, it's changed so much since the first day I started. You want me to talk a little bit about what happened in the real old days?
Back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth? Yes.
Before the MLS was the MLS?
Do it.
Yes.
Okay, short. When I first started in 1973, the MLS was a 4.5 by 6 binder, and you used to get sheets every day. And you pulled out the ones that sold and threw them in the trash can, and the taxi cab delivery guy would come by every day about 3 o'clock, and everybody would have a little packet of, what we would classify as the MLS sheets. And we would put them in there. And I often wondered why the older brokers were sort of laughing at me. He said, well, Terry, you're really not in the real estate business yet. And I said, what do you mean by that? Because you don't have all the properties for sale. I have all the properties. He said, no, I have the properties that haven't sold because I've been here longer than six months, and you only have the brand new listings. You don't have the old listings. That's how far we've come. I mean, it's staggering to think how far we've come.
Yeah, and our role has massively shifted because of those changes. So Terry, when you look at what you do for clients now versus what you did then when you were more of the keeper of the information, I mean, has your approach changed? Were you fortunate to get around a group of people that had the right approach to begin with, even when you had, even though the business was different? It sounds like you've always had that servant attitude. Is that's something that we can carry into our work today, even though our role has changed a little bit?
I think so. I think you need to be more of a servant hero. You need to be able to step into a situation and advise your client that this is truly not the best decision for them, and be forceful enough to walk away. It's not about the money. So therefore, all you're looking for is, given the information that you know, are you able to make a found, solid decision that economically will enhance the family, their well-being? Like for example, if it's a property next to a freeway, are you going to sell it to someone that wants a quiet location? Well, no, you're not going to do that. But are you going to find a buyer that would utilize that location because they have a very good price on it? And there's offsets to different kinds of locational issues that you may buy. Now, would I buy one? I would never buy anything close to the freeway. I don't want the exhaust. I don't want there's a diminishing value. The further away you're away from noise, the better off the location is for you.
Yeah.
But there is somebody that thinks that it's a great value. But as long as they understand that it's a great value today in this particular market, but when it's more difficult to sell, it may be on the market for a year or 2 years. And the price may be the differential between what the norm market would be for a good home in that market compared to that. It's a stressed property because it has things that you cannot change.
Yeah.
You cannot change the location. The freeway is not going to change. That issue will always be there. So when you have a very explosive market, the price between a really good home and the bottom comes up because people are forced to make decisions about properties because there's not enough properties on the market, Matt.
Right.
Now,
So they may want a quiet location, but they may not get it. And they may be willing to settle for the value location, which is not their ideal, but it's one of the best things they can get. And maybe the only way they can afford to buy in a market, especially with a market like you guys have in the East Bay.
Oh, absolutely. And, what drives that is the educational opportunity for their kids. That is the single most important aspect. Mom wants to make sure that their kids are in the best schools possible, and they'll move within a town because the school districts will change. Well, if it's the only opportunity for them, the offset is a good education for their kids, and they'll live with the noise. Hopefully the front door is pointing towards the noise because in your backyard is somewhat quiet. It may be a very good price, but when the market gets, today there's 38 houses in Alamo for sale. When there's 138 houses for sale and there's lots of properties that are available, the differential between a poor location and a good location really opens up because I don't have to worry. There's more opportunities for me to make an alternative decision that could be a better location for me. Still want to be in that school district, but there's more opportunities for them to find something, even 3 or 5 or 6 blocks. Talking about sound has a diminishing value of 1/2 the distance. So a mile back away, 2 miles back is 1/2 the sound level that you would have at a mile. So you start to think about those things. And a lot of people do. There are certain streets in our town. Now, it's all relative, though, Matt. I had a house in Alamo at the intersection of busy and busier. And my client was the buyer. Now, I told him, I said, listen, I want to show you this. I don't think it's going to be the right property for you, but it's got everything else for you. So I wasn't setting up a negative sale. I was being very honest with him. The noise level is deafening here. And I got there and I said, it's busy and busier. He said, yeah, but you don't understand. I came from New York. This is nothing.
Oh, interesting.
There's no noise here for what I'm used to. And that's when I first got started. I said, you know what? There's a point. It's all relative to what you're used to. If you're from Iowa or you're out in the middle of Nebraska and you got the only car that goes by the house is the mailman, then any noise is going to be too much noise. Yeah. So I learned very early on not to be the judge of someone's decision-making process. It's all about where they're coming from. So I don't know if that was helpful or not, but.
Oh, yeah. No, very, very helpful. One of the things I want to kind of give people, I obviously know these stories. Wait. What did your coffee cup say? Right.
I have a hero. I call him Dad.
I'm like, what the heck? It's a very true statement for you, my friend. But I want to bring it back a little bit. We started talking about when you just started, and then we'll break into mindset a little bit. I want you to talk about the clown suit, door knocking on Boulder, Colorado, what you told yourself when you went out there. Because, I mean, in today's day and age, we have it so easy in every way, shape, or form. We have these things called smartphones that we can bust out. It has more power in this little phone than Bill Clinton had as a president when he was running the country. But when you went out and you started doing doors in the snow, in your galoshes, every day, where was your mindset? What was going through your head? Because so many people have an issue with getting their head in the right space. So what did you do? What did you tell yourself? How did you go door knocking in the snow every day?
So you have to understand where I came from. My dad died when I was 7. My mom did the very best she could do to take care of us. If it wasn't for my older sister, and her husband, I don't know what I would have been. So I had no financial backing. I drove a combine in the summertime, making $1.25 an hour for Mr. Wilhite, and I also sold cars when the harvest season was over, door to door in Delano, California, for Delano Motors. You got to come out and check my new Dodge Charger. You know, it's got air conditioning in it, you know, and I'm at 105 degrees and I'm sweating. They, come on in, little boy. I think you need to get some water. And it worked out very well for me. I sold a lot of cars doing that. So when I graduated from Colorado, Sally and Mom and I were just married. We had no family help on either side. There was no $10,000 here to get started. There was no $150,000 to buy a house. There was $129 life insurance policy that my dad purchased that I had every single month for about a year. And I didn't have an alternative choice. I had no money at all. And there was no B or C plan. The only plan that I had was that I know that I could go out and meet people, because I looked at myself as a servant. Even at that early age, I was a servant. I was there to help them. And it was snowing, and I had the original wingtips, not these knockoffs. I mean, these things were like, they were like the original Chryslers, you know. They really had a front and a rear bumper on both of the shoes. And when you would slap them down and they'd get wet, they were like leather, and they would go up like this. You know, the front part would come up and they would widen out. And I figured out early on that I didn't have a suit. So I went down to Cotrell, Contrel. I don't know if they're in business anymore. A $79 suit. They had dots everywhere, red and blue and green dots all over my clothes, and it had rings everywhere. You know, it's the only thing that was under $80 that we could afford. So I came home, and by the way, they were selling this thing, a rubberized pad that you would put on your shoe. I'd never seen one because I was from California, and when I was in college, I don't think I had a dress pair of shoes. It would wrap around the outside of the shoe to keep the leather shoe, from not getting soaking wet. It also meant to me that I could get 2.5 times more shoe leather on the ground and last that much longer out there knocking doors. So you have to understand, it was the rent was coming due. My wife Sally was in school taking 21 units. There was no money, no help, no help. And so when people come to me and say, "Well, I have a house payment," I said, "Well, I can understand that. I had my apartment rent for $180. The Sally negotiated down to $170 if we mowed the yard both directions, and there was no way out. I mean, I don't know how to make it any more dire, because I had a trench coat that looked like a jacket that you would wear in California, not in Colorado. I had gloves on because it was so stinking cold. rain. It was snowing and raining in Boulder. You can get that every
Totally.
other hour. You never know. I can remember going out the front door and turning left, and I told Sally, says, I heard this one script, walk up to the front door and ask them if they want to sell their house. And I started doing that every day. And someone had made a bet with me, a guy named Scott Cowan, and it was my first broker at a home builder. He said, I don't think anyone can get 4 listings in 1 month or 4 transactions. And if you do, I will buy you an HP 80. And that HP 80 at the time was selling for $399. And that's what a school teacher would make for the entire month. I mean, honestly. And I can remember it had red lights on it. I still have it back over there. And I wanted that so badly. I wanted that HP 80 because I wanted to be able to show them what their payments were on their house. The PITI. I could figure the PI payment on that thing. So the contest started, and I went out that front door. Now you have to understand, I had just graduated from the university. I knew there was another part of the community outside of the campus, but it had to be only the places that had pizza. It didn't have anything else because I didn't know there were other people up in Mapleton Hill and East and West Boulder. I mean, that was the suburbs. I mean, I didn't know it existed. So I walked out the front door and I started up to the front door and I knocked on the door and says, hi, my name's Terry McDaniel with Leach and Arnold Real Estate Company. And I said, I just wanted to stop by and see if you folks had thought about making a move. Nope, we're not going to move. Well, what about those people over there? Frida's been here forever. Well, what about that family over there? Well, I heard there may be a divorce in the making over there. But don't tell them I said anything, okay? No problem. I won't say a word. So I'd walk to the next door. I'd thank them and walk to the next door. So, by the way, what's the name of the family at the next door? That's Henry. He's been there a long time. And so I'd walk up to the front door to Henry and I'd say, hi, Henry. I'm Terry McDaniel. I just wanted to know if you thought about selling your house this year. He said, no, but dang, thanks so much for stopping by. And anybody else thinking of moving? How about that family over there? Nope, Frida's been here a long time. Well, what about that family? Well, I heard some noise the other night that they may be selling, they may get a divorce. I said, well, do you know their name over there? Nah, I'm not going to tell you that. You're going to walk over there and talk to them, aren't you? Well, I thought I might be able to help him out. He said, well, don't tell him I said anything, but his name is John. And I walked to her. Her name is Rose. I said, well, are you sure John and Rose live there still? Well, last Saturday, they still were there. So, by the way, what's the name of the family next door? That's Sam. Okay, well, thank you, John. Appreciate it very much. If you think about selling your house, would you promise me, here's my card. I'm going to give you my card because I want you to call me. He said, what, you have a telephone? And there's a telephone number. I'm going to give you 2 cards, John. One to give to a friend and one to paste on a piece of Scotch tape up right next to that telephone. You want to sell in the future, you call me, okay? Sounds good. So I walked to the next door. I did this all day long. I did 100 doors the first time. And I know you won't believe this, but Greg, you remember this. This is my little gold patch. This has 10 beans in it. I don't know if you can see the beans or not. Here are the beans.
Look.
There are the beans. See the beans? There are the beans. Oh, there are the beans.
We're dropping beans. We're losing on beans.
I've got my beans right there. So after the first week, I figured that if I could start knocking on doors and get 10 yeses in a day, I'd be really happy. So I started knocking doors, and all of a sudden I got a listing. Then I got another listing. And on the 3rd week, I got a listing. And the last day, I got a listing. So that HP 80, which was $400 at the time, became mine. And I realized at that time point is that there's everything you ever want in life is on the other side of that door. The only difference between me and anybody else is what was on the other side of the door was so valuable to me that I was willing to take the pain of the physical environment and the rejection to go through the process, and it is a process, of believing that you're there to help them, and that whatever you want, if you help them get what they want, the money that you generate and the friendships that you generate will help you make and give you whatever you want. You just have to be able to understand that. It's just a law. It's a process. So that's my starting on door knocking. And it not only worked very, very well, but if you started doing that on a regular basis today, it will give you the same result.
Yeah.
Because no one, everyone thinks that they're above it. But all you're there, if you worked for IBM, you would be out on the territory selling typewriters or computers to your clients, right? My clients live in a house. I'm there to help them enhance the value of their property. And when the space and time requirement for them to make that move, it is a space-time requirement, that when they have more children or less children, or someone is deceased, or they just need more room for all their toys, that helps them make a decision to move on to another property. And if you're there at the right time, you can be the person that can carry them to the next property. So it's a real simple business. You just find people that have a problem, have them identify the problem so they understand what their problem is, and then help them through the process of solving that problem and showing them why your solution is better than anybody else's solution. And you'll have more business than you can ever possibly have.
Well, I always tell people about Dick Ward and how he when he started, guys. Dick Ward, you've heard me talk about him before. He sold 2,500 homes in his best year with his team, and he had the exact same mentality that T. Diddy, the Grandmaster, me papa has. About going out just first day, turn left. Second day, turn right. I went door knocking on Friday. Well, I had so much fun. I don't even think I told you this, Dad. I went out there and I picked up a very strong lead for a guy who's thinking about buying. And it was just because I would never have met him if I didn't go out there and actually meet the people. It's that simple. I mean, in today's day and age, Dad, when it comes to people's mindsets and being little snowflakes and everyone getting their feelings hurt when they get told no, I mean, you were out there just kicking butt when you had to kick butt. So did you carried the mindset of I have no help? Like there is no plan B, C, or D. Like this is plan A, end of story. How did you keep that mindset for so long? How did you not get diluted? Because I mean, I've obviously known you my whole life, naturally. And you've never been like, well, if this doesn't work out, we can do this. It's always been like, this is the way we're going to do it. End of story. No ifs, ands, or buts. So how did you hold that strong mental attitude, even after your massive successes and, everything else that have gone very well for you? How did you stay mentally strong? Because I think that's where people fall down all the time, is not being mentally strong throughout the entire journey. They're there in the beginning, but they're not there at the end.
Well, if you're going to go to work in the real estate business, you want to make sure that your work environment is my job as a manager is to make you a better person, okay? And to show you how you can provide better services to people. My job is not to collect money from you. My job is to make you a better person. Because if I make you a better person, you're going to do a better job. For me, the thing that I found most important and the easiest thing not to do is to write down your goals every single quarter, every month, every week, every day. And it's the actionable steps of the goal. So I have to believe that the law of numbers make a difference. So if in your territory you've got to knock on to 100 people to get 30% of the people home, and out of the 30 people, it takes 1 out of the 30 that will probably be moving the next 6 months, then, if it takes you 30 per hour, you got 3 hours in, and you make $35,000 every time you sell a house. You see that the minutes, every hour that you spend out the door attempting to meet somebody, you make a lot of money. Now, do you get them all listed? No. Do they change their mind and go to work in the real estate business themselves? Yes. But if you're consistently out there, now, everyone thinks that all what, quote, they classify as a lead from the internet, in my opinion, is not a lead, it's a response. Mm-hmm. All it is a response from want to know the value of your house. I mean, is that the stupidest question in the entire universe? I mean, honestly, that thing has been used so much. And if you're able to find out where their pain is, where you can provide a solution to the pain, if there's someone, I mean, we can get into all kinds of discussions about this, but the pain point selling theory is probably a much better way. The ability to assess what's going on at the front door when you meet those people immediately can tell you in a nanosecond what you can do to provide them help. If their grass is this high, okay, and you have an older person living in the home, when you're turning around and say, Mary, I've got a very good gardener. He's the best. He doesn't have a real fancy business card, but I can tell you one thing, it really cuts grass well. Would you like to talk to somebody like that? Oh my gosh, my guy just quit and I haven't found anybody to do that. Well, what's your best telephone number, and I'll call you back with a telephone number of my gardener. Okay, at that time I didn't have a smartphone where I could, do everything really quickly. I had to call them back. And the question was, what's your best phone number? Gave me the number that I should call, not the one where the telemarketers call, but the ones that I was able to provide the information to. And then eventually moved into
the telemarketers. Easy on the telemarketers, buddy. You taught me.
Greg and I just had this conversation this morning, about how people like me are not picking up the phone, and it's making it very difficult for people like Greg to make a living.
But you realize that 17% of every single household drops their telephone number, their home number, every single year.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So what you basically have is you had that much. Now you got basically 20% within 5 years. And your generation doesn't have, they have a data line, but they don't have a telephone number. If you don't know their phone number at home, and when they call any of us now, I know who they are before they call. And that's why I think there'll be a resurgence of two things. There'll be a resurgence of territorial marketing, door knocking.
Mm-hmm.
I just sold a home. I just listed a home. The reason for the just listed, just sold is because every neighbor wants to know who's moved in the house, and they want to know what's going on in the market. Hey, Mary, I just wanted to stop by. I just sold a home. A house just sold down the street. Fred just sold another house down the street. It doesn't make a difference. And I wanted to drop this hard copy so that you can keep it for yourself and put it into your file. But it seems like the values of the houses are going up in our neighborhood. And I know the last 5 times you told me you didn't want to move, but perhaps today's a new day. Nah, we're never going to move. Well, if you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, I want you to call me tomorrow morning, okay? And she'll laugh. And then I'll turn around and I'll say, oh, what about Frida? What about them? What about them? And I've taught Greg this thing called the carousel. The carousel, you're just turning around, boom, 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 boom. I cannot tell you how much confidential information I have about the neighbors, because they'll tell me everything about that house. No, they're not moving. What about them? They just bought a boat, but they're gone a lot. Boom, boom. They'll tell you everything. Because I'm a trusted person, I use their first name. Now, Greg likes to go out and door knock. I can't go out and door knock without having a list of everybody's address and all their names. okay? Because I may have sold that house, or they may be related to somebody, and if I don't know their first name, it bothers me. So I'll go, hi Fred, we just sold the house down the street. He doesn't slam the door in my face. I know his name. I don't use his last name unless I can't pronounce the first name. That happens sometimes. But I'm always open, and I've often challenged some of my dearest friends that if you just have their name, you can't believe how much more you receive for them. Okay? I'll tell you another thing that's helpful. When you finish up your day, I can tell you who I talked to. And I've been working on this invention to be able to keep track of those people. Every day I buy a box of chocolates. I buy about 500 to 600 boxes of chocolates every year. And, we're all going to deliver them at Christmas time. And by the time, the 26th comes by, I've still got about a third of them left that I missed them or whatever, and I'd like to see them in person. So I'll let them stay in the garage. And I often take out 2 or 3 boxes and put them in my car. They're sealed wrapped. And at the end of the day, the people that I really thought that they really opened up, I stopped by and said, Mary, I really enjoyed our conversation today. It doesn't have to be an issue about you selling your home. But if you need to know a good doctor or a good dentist or a candlestick maker, you give me a call. Here's a box of chocolates. I just thought you could enjoy them today. I cannot tell you how many thank you notes I've had from that. Just, hey, I really needed that. I didn't tell you everything. I had lung replacement 2 months ago, and I can barely move around. No one knows except my sister who lives with me right now. I didn't know. I was just being kind. So those are the kind of long-lasting relationships that a $7 or a $9 box of chocolates will make for you. I wasn't doing that to make any money. I was doing there to establish a relationship with those people. Because sooner or later, you realize that if the ones that you just thought you had in the bag, whatever that is, for $5,000, they'll walk off and do it with somebody else. I mean, yeah, I've delivered chocolates to some families 15, 20 years after selling their house to the wife that died in the hot tub, that for the next 15 years I've faithfully stopped by to make sure that they were okay. Say a little prayer for them, get a little chocolate for them, and have them list with somebody else because they hadn't seen my sign in that neighborhood. So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Like Mother Teresa, do it anyway. It's just part of the process.
Well, I think that goes back to the being mentally strong. So, I mean, to me, it ties into part of why you've been able to be in the business and not cycle in and out, is that you take that servant mentality, that's the way you're going to do business, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, the outcome is most of the time in your favor, and overall for your career it has been. But you would do that anyway. You carry that mentality with you inside you, regardless of what the outcome
100%.
is.
And a pastor will have church on Sunday. I have church Monday through Saturday out in my congregation. I'm out there to serve the people. And when you have that pastoral mentality that you're there to help them through a process, it's my money that I make is not related directly to this one single transaction. I believe, as a man of faith, I believe all that I have ever received is because God was kind to me, and I was able to receive a blessing for the work that I provided. So I came up with a theory called Hero Life. Greg knows about Hero Life. Mm-hmm. Someday we'll write a book about this. And if you take a sheet of paper and you put it down, the upper left-hand corner is, if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. So you're going to make everything you want to do in life to get up in the morning is to either have fun, enjoy life, but you got to have some laughter in life. The other one on the right side is you got to be learning something all the time. So laughter, joy, learning, understanding. And the lower left is what I classify as BP squared. You got to bless and prosper people before profit. So BP squared comes in, and then on the right-hand side is the hero. You got to step into the fire and to pull people out like a fireman would. You got to be willing to go into a stressful situation, a divorce, a financial reversal. When 2008 came about, all the people that had made a lot of money lost a lot of money. We had 3 escrows where the people said, you know what, keep our $25,000 deposit. I don't care what's happening. I'm out of this transaction.
Whoa.
Just gone. I'd never seen it, and that was probably almost 35 years in business. 3 in one day. Every one of them walked away. The fear factor was so high they could not handle.
Yeah.
Now, if they had, I mean, you couldn't borrow money if you had to. I mean, credit dried up so quickly. A lot of people couldn't get liquid fast enough to make their payments.
Mm-hmm.
But all I'm saying is that you have to realize that 5 years or 10 years down the road, it will come back. And it's just personal philosophy. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of people, think you're, where did those feelings come from? I said, well, they have just been my underpinning belief system for, 50 plus years. So it does make a difference. So I hope that's helpful for people. If you ever want to know more about it, you can have me back on and we can talk about it. But I'm sure you have some more questions about.
No, that's not a problem.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Questions is not where we lack.
No.
Matt, we had 2 questions we were going to lead off with. Let's bring in, because Matt and I were going over some questions, and that's why I'm the junior Grandmaster and he is the Grandmaster, because there was a question and Matt asked me the question. I'm like, I have no rebuttal. And Terry's like, I got one.
Exactly. All right. So let me set this up here. I believe this is both of these questions are from the perspective of dealing with an expired seller. So Ralph Lord says, here's one. The seller says, I want a broker who has shown the house before to relist it. So Terry, how would you come back? What would your response be?
So I would use what we call a porcupine. Tommy Hopkins developed this thing, and the guy before him developed this called the porcupine. You throw it right back. So you want somebody that's only shown your house, and you don't say a word, and you let them tell you the next level. Well, we thought that someone would come out to show the house, they'd have an interest in it. And you say the next question, you throw it back again. So they came out, why didn't they bring a buyer to buy your property? Are they any different than any of the other brokers? They didn't perform. They may have hoped to perform for you, but they didn't do anything different than anybody else. The reason why we didn't come out, your broker never called us to come out and look at your property. If he had called me and said, you know what, why don't you come look at this property? This might be something better for you that you haven't seen before. Now, that's the difference that we do. We call 50 brokers every time we list a property. They're people that we know we want to do business with. Hey, Fred, Dave, Greg, Henry. Hey, we got this new listing. Now we email them out. Now you text them out, but you get them out to people, and you've got your brokers who are the most probable, and you got to remember this word, the most probable broker to bring a buyer in. You make your list of those people, and you glue yourself to them, and you tell them about properties coming on the market before they come on the market. Hey, I just got to tell you about this one. It's a great property. You're the advocate for the property, not just someone that randomly showed your property that, I mean, how did they get there? So you use a porcupine technique, and then you switch it and you pivot. What we do differently than that is we call the brokers. Wouldn't you like to have someone like that as an advocate for you? See how we flip that thing?
That's great.
It's called a pivot. It's a porcupine with a pivot. And you can make those things up all day long. But if you didn't have a Dale Carnegie selling program, or if you didn't have a Tom Hopkins selling program, it's got to be so good that you could be at the Lincoln Center giving the presentation, and you have to practice those things. They just don't come.
Right.
The only difference between everything should be scripted. everything should be scripted, because when you're picking your nose trying to come up with an answer, it's too late. You have to have it built in. Use a porcupine. Mary, is the only reason that you want to list with them is why? You can use an open-end porcupine question. You can use all kinds of different methodologies there. But if you don't learn how to sell, and selling is nothing more than trying to overcome, and you'd never overcome an objection that is illogical. They're just playing with you. But if they're truly looking for a solution, then you say, well, is that really what you want? What we do differently, what you're trying to show is how you are separated from the rest of the public. And in California, every 15th person has a real estate license. So, I mean, you could have someone that did your hair last week that's going to do your toenails next month be in the real estate business. Now, when I want someone doing work on my elbow or my hip, I want him to do 45 hip replacements that month, because he's remembering exactly what he's supposed to do. He's not going to leave a tool inside my body. And so when we close your up your property, Mrs. Johnson, I know how nice you are, but personally, I never want to open up your file. And she'll say, why? Because when they call me and they say, Mr. McDaniel, it's only happened one time. I never want to have that happen again. Oh, well, what happened? Well, someone thought they were going to collect a lot of money from my seller, but our documentation was so thick that when the attorney saw that we were doing absolutely the right thing, they went away. So that's what you want. That makes us different. We take good records. And you just get into it. You have to know the value proposition that you provide. See, most of you wouldn't buy from yourself. You realize that? Most of the people would not buy from yourself. Because the moment you go in, you stink. You have a stinky mentality. That you do. I mean, you come in, well, that won't work. Well, then why are you here? Mrs. Johnson, I think they couldn't solve that, could they, Mrs. Johnson? Let me think about this just for a second. I have a couple of ideas. Let's sit down and we'll work a strategy out, and we use some new techniques that we just developed that's helped to sell 5 more houses this year. Would that be something that would be beneficial to you? Boom. No, I don't want to do that. So what you're saying to me, porcupine back, what you're saying to me is that you really don't want to get together with me and you'd rather work with somebody else. Is that correct? No, that's not what I'm really saying. Is that my husband died 2 months ago and I'm not sure what to do. Really? So let's figure out what the right solution is for you. Maybe selling is not the right solution. Pull it away. So you start to learn these things to help people make better. All your job is to help them make better decisions, so that when you see them in Safeway, they're not throwing the tomatoes at you or the oranges. I had one professional baseball player that I flew down to San Diego one time to make sure he signed the papers okay. He's on TV. He's a very nice guy. He said, I can hit you with a tomato from here, front door, to the back of the meat department. I said, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a very nice guy. His arms are about this big, and he's well known. And I said, I know you can. And I said, that's why I personally came down here, to make sure the paperwork was right. He said, I know I selected the right real estate broker. So,
I will pay someone in the East Bay to follow Greg around and throw a tomato at him in a Trader Joe's, just to make him wonder, like, ooh, did I advise somebody wrong?
I will swiftly kick you in the nuts.
Okay, good.
The one nice thing about Greg, Matt, is that Greg is probably the most compassionate guy I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah. I can tell you some stories about this guy. No. Okay.
Greg says no.
Absolutely. We were supporting a family a long ways away from here, and I'd given up. It had been a long time, and they needed money for the kids to have their teeth done. And I said, what else are they going to ask us to buy a house for them next? And Greg heard about this, and Greg worked out a deal with the dentist to do all their kids, and he paid for all of those kids to have orthodontic work done to their teeth. And I'd given up. Greg didn't give up. I mean, that's that's the kind of person you're working with. I mean, yeah, he's my son and I love him and all the other stuff. But I mean, the character he has. I mean, he's honestly that kind of person. And
well, I appreciate that, but I mean, those
Greg's
stories.
Like, shut it down. Shut it down.
Those stories are done for people, that don't never need to be seen by the light of day. The only payment I asked for that family was they sent photos of the kids with straight white teeth, and I got them. I got my photos. But I mean, we're coming. This thing is. I want to tackle a couple more questions, but I really want to focus on the point of character and your own morality, your code of ethics. So the way that you operate that is the fact that you have a strict code of ethics that you will not violate, you will not bend, you will not steer away from. And so that is what has propelled you for 4 or 5, almost 5 decades in the business. That's a very treacherous business. And so I would want for you guys to go out and take a quick little, checkup on where's your ethics meter? What's the barometer saying to you when it comes to, do you give in? Do you do deals with people that shouldn't have deals done with them? Are you not advising against a purchase of a property because you need to make the Amex payment on your credit card? Are you willing to do something that's going to, hurt you in the short run but give you a long-term, success because of your reputation? I mean, I've told the story several times about you, Dad, the fact that it was, the family that moved to Texas. Their house is out in Danville, and the fact that you advised them 25 years ago, more like 30 years ago now, not to sell their home. Yeah. And then that family went out and they cleared $850,000 plus in cash to them after everything. They went and bought 2 houses, all cash in Texas, one on a lake, one in town to be near their grandbaby. And they were able to do that because of the ethic and moral code that you possess. Because you could have made a quick buck. You could have made a quick buck. You could have made a sale. But you said no.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that was when I first came here in 1987, I knocked on his door. And at that time, he was not CFO for the companies, but he became the CFO. He never forgot that conversation. I said, I won't mention his name, but I'll just say, Fred, the best thing you can do right now, you've got too good a property. You don't need to sell. Just stay where you are. Let the compounding effect of appreciation be your friend. And when he walked out, he called me. I mean, I had forgotten about the conversation. And so he called, they went to Texas. By the way, it was a great transaction, the wonderful people, but I had lost touch with him. He had not lost touch with me. And that's unbelievable. But Greg, you bring up something that's really important. This thing that we all worked on, and if they ever want a copy of this, is why you do what you do. I keep good people away from bad brokers. That was my number one thing. My job was to keep good people away from bad brokers. Number 2, be a servant in a non-servant world. Number 3, ministering to people in need to encourage others. And there's a whole bunch of them here. I know we're short of time, but if they ever want a copy of that, I'll give a copy of that to you. And it will help them in them creating their own code of ethics. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Okay?
True.
And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and you just know. In my generation, you just knew what was right and wrong. It had a biblical basis. It had an understanding of treating people in a moral, ethical way. Always treat people the way you want to be treated. Most powerful thing you can learn. Now, everyone won't do that.
Right. There's a gal named, she's Kathy here on the comments here, and she asked a deal, and I think you're tackling this question right now, but she says, what kinds of people should we not be doing deals with? And I think you just hit on it there. the people that don't own your same code of ethics. I mean, this is business. You need to do business with a lot, multiple different people, but don't allow yourself to be led around by your nose and kicked like a dog, just to make that check. I mean, if you're like you talked about, you're blessed before prosper. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. So on and so forth. I think that, well, Dad, you answer. I mean, what kind of people would you not do a deal with?
Well, there's two things. A lot of people will say, well, don't do business with that producer. You'll never talk to him or anything else. That's not necessarily true. Some of the best transactions that I, both on that side as well as on the other side, were great transactions, because once we talked and established a relationship, we did the transactions, and they're like 25 or 30 of them like that. The ones that you can't, if you know that they have not been in the business and their broker is not helping them in this transaction, you're going to end up doing both sides of the transaction. You, as the adult in that situation, set the standard of ethics in that transaction. Wow, just a few dollars. Not a few dollars. There is no dollar amount to buy your personal reputation back. The scripture is really clear about this. It says a man with a bad reputation is a dead man among the living. So there is nothing that you should do that would ever be something that you wouldn't want the entire newspaper to talk about tomorrow morning in the paper. Never do anything. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And call it as it is. We'll just give you cash after close of escrow. No, we're not, Mary. It's on the escrow papers, or you're not going to get any money. Okay? You have to. We don't need laws to keep us in check. The laws are the last thing that should be there. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
Very good. Yeah, you can't. There's a great phrase. You can't legislate morality, and that's essentially that's what especially California tries to do. When you're exactly right. If we follow that principle, if it doesn't feel right and it isn't right, then it would prevent us from having to pass a lot of the laws and the consumer protection laws that we have in place.
Yeah, and not only that, but for the ladies that are listening to this, be heads up. Okay, I had a friend of mine that was working late at his office. That I know this. He's a very dear friend of mine. And someone came into the office and would, at gunpoint, put him in a trunk or car. And he's a very good guy. Luckily, he survived that situation. But what I'm saying is that we work in a world that not everybody works with the same rule book, and for the guys as well. But for the ladies, you do not go out without meeting them somewhere in a safe place first, okay?
Yeah.
Just don't do that. You have an open house. You tell your brother, your sister, your broker where you are. You call in every half an hour. When Eileen or Sally, whatever, or Gina would have an open house, we're always calling them to make sure you have a double exit out the back door. You don't feel comfortable, run to the middle of the street, okay? So you just don't want to do business with people that you don't somewhat have some background. When someone calls for a listing presentation now, I Google them. I verify that they own the property, and I also link them. I check every possible place I can to find out any information on them. I take their telephone number that they've given me. I put it in the Google search. Be surprised what you can find out about people on their phone number. Their email address. Don't be stupid, okay? Like a friend of mine said.
So basically, the short answer is don't work with creepers. Right.
Don't work with creepers. And there are people out there. When they tell they have all cash, that's great. So does Bank of America or Wells Fargo. and I'm going to buy houses today. I've got it. I used to get it when the Iranians when Iran was going through the process. People would say, "Well, we've got all the money in a bag at the end of the airport." You know, stay away from me, please. Don't even get
No.
But,
No, thank you.
You know,
No,
use a
thank
buddy
you
system
whatsoever.
in our business. Don't be a loner, because
Yeah.
I don't want anybody ever to get hurt. So.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a father here. I'm just trying to say, I just got to be thinking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Agreed.
You know,
Use your noodle.
Ted
That's
Bundy
right.
looked like a nice person. Okay, Ted Bundy killed and raped a lot of people, and so just because they're nice looking and they drive up in a Maserati doesn't mean they're a creep. Not a creep.
So
heads
beware
up.
of Matt, guys. Beware
That's
of Matt.
just gonna damn it, you beat me to it. Come on, Greg. I was gonna say, dude, beware of Greg. Just because he rolls up in a nice Jeep, whatever it is that you have. Oh man. All right, we gotta shut this down before it gets personal. Okay, so Greg, so for you guys that are in your area, Danville, Alamo, etc., so they have an opportunity to actually join up and kind of link up not only under our team but also so Terry has joined EXP actually over us. And so I just want to, Greg, can you speak a little bit to that and what the opportunity is there for anyone that's actually physically in your guys' area?
Yeah, guys, if you're physically in the area and you want to do EXP, you can join our EXP team. And then those of you in our area and in California, you have added value benefits. Eileen, the Steel Trap, has agreed to run your deals for you, write your contracts, and those types of things. There's a fee associated with that to cover her costs. But, you know, if you guys are in the area and you do want to join EXP or talk about it, and you want to have some sort of like human-to-human interaction contact, give us a call. Let's see if there's something that we can put together for you. You go to bookmcdaniel.com as usual. Again, bookmcdaniel.com. Book a 30 minutes. Let's see if we're the right fit. I mean, like we were talking about, we don't want to work with creepers. But all the people that do listen to our show obviously aren't that, because you guys are thriving human beings that are trying to self-educate and go to the next level in your business life and real estate. So, and if you guys overall want to talk about EXP, just go to bookmcdaniel.com. Again, we have a Kim Kardashian bootay of Yum Yum of extra value benefits that we have on the back end. Matt, as he shakes his head, I had to get one head shake out of him. I didn't get a nose pinch, but I got a head shake. But Matt, go over quickly, what is in that Kim Kardashian booty of Yum Yum?
Well, start you off with 36 to Life, which is a training program that teaches you how to do 36 deals a year and then increase the quality of your clients and your average transaction price from there. That's offered through a good friend, the gentleman that brought us into EXP, Hank Avink, is the creator and founder of that program. So we put everyone that comes into our team, we encourage them to go through that program first. Then you get all of our training, including everything from rockstar prospecting to getting out business, both the outbound and inbound side of lead generation. We've also got program for new agents. So if you're a brand new agent, we've never released that to the public. That's only for team members. We also have all of our weekly trainings. So every week we're on a private Facebook Live into our private Facebook group where you can join us and be trained every Monday. And then we also have Wednesday and Friday trainings offered through our good friend Jeff Cohn. And the training that he offers his agents in Omaha, Nebraska is streamed live with super high def audio and video that you guys all have free access to. So you actually have 3 days a week of training as well as access to us. You can book a call with Greg. He's got Monday through Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Central set aside for team members first for individual one-on-one coaching for free. Pacific. I love what I said, but and then I've got 15 minutes increments set aside on my calendar as well. So if you want to talk about marketing, team building, podcasting, anything like that will help you become a celebrity agent in your market, you can also just go right on my calendar, grab a slot with me anytime you like. Those are benefits that are just for people that join our team. So great reasons to talk to Greg.
Absolutely, guys. Well, Matt, I am going to check in the box of yes to have the Grandmaster back. What say you? If you don't say yes, I slap you.
I know exactly. Like I'm going to say no. So we've been just watching the comments and guys, Veronica and Mike and everyone that just complimented the episode, and obviously Terry specifically, like just Mike specifically said, love that he bases his principles on biblical teachings. Absolutely. And so we just want to thank everybody for watching live. We know we didn't get to a ton of questions on this particular one. Maybe in future episodes we will, and we'll talk more tactically about sales and marketing, where you guys can throw some questions at us on Facebook Live. But yeah, it's been a phenomenal episode. So we'll put a nice red bow in honor of Greg's shirt and his skin from his recent sunburn. We'll put a nice red bow tied up around this episode, and that'll do it for us.
Absolutely, and just a couple more compliments for you, Dad. Mike, your dad is awesome. Veronica, oh my goodness, I love this guy. We have multiples of those comments in there, so thank you for bringing epically awesome value. We love every one of you guys. We also joke and play around, but we will have the Grandmaster back because this is the baby pinky scratch of knowledge. The door you see behind him is his work closet, and in there, it's actually a full closet, and that thing is full of books of knowledge of the years of him going to conferences. So there is amazing stuff. Now you guys know where I come from, and now you kind of have an idea of where I base my business practices from, is from this man. So we're going to make more of the goodness rain. But, until then, Matt, we're going to put the red bow on it. But till then, as always, peace out, ninjas! We gone.